Just enjoying the moment and embracing this opportunity.
What are these last couple weeks been like?
It's been exhausting, physically exhausting because a lot of flights, uh, not too much sleep. Obviously, we were prepping for a Super Bowl, and then right after that, went from uh, exit meeting with the players, and then went to the parade, and then jumped on the plane, came out here, flew back a couple of days later. Then I'm gonna tell you what's hard: packing up an office that you've collected 10 years of stuff, and that could be good, and it also could be bad. So, but it took me about 2 or 3 days. I had some help with some guys, but I'm just happy and excited about this opportunity. And if you want something bad enough, you'll do whatever it takes to get it done.
And what about this opportunity specifically, when you looked at it, like what really kind of got you going the most?
Well, first of all, it's about the relationships that are built. I've known Coach Rivera since 1999, and just knowing who he was and what impact he had when he played at Cal, and obviously playing in the league as well. But knowing him as a man of integrity and a great leader of men, that outweighs a number of things. And then just having an opportunity to know, Martin Mayhew and Stokes, known those guys for a number of years. And then on top of that, Jason Wright, the team president, comes from the same neck of the woods that I grew up in Southern California. So there's been some relationships that have been bonded throughout the course of this process. But on top of that, when you look at the roster, there is some talent on this team. And so my question, when you guys say why, I say why not? Because there is talent here. Now, we have to put it together and do it the right way. But why not come to the Washington Commanders?
How much have you gotten to watch Sam Howell, and what are your early impressions of him?
Well, I can only base my evaluation on what he did coming out of college. Now, I did have an opportunity to see him play in that last game against the Dallas Cowboys. The kid is a dynamic football player. He can make throws from different platforms. You can tell he has a baseball background. The thing that got me fired up was when he ran in on that touchdown and he flexed, so that was some good stuff. And on top of it, I got a little inside information with some people that coach and work at the University of North Carolina, and everybody has high reviews on him. So I'm fired up about the opportunity to get to know the kid, but more than anything, you always want to create competition, okay? You want to make sure that we're getting the very best out of the people who are in that particular position.
How do you create that competition?
You create it by adding competition in the room.
Would you prefer a veteran or a rookie?
Well, right now, I can tell you like this: we're still going through this process of evaluating. We're going to sit down and have that conversation with Coach Rivera, Coach Mayhew, and we'll go from there.
What kind of latitude did you get on building your staff, and what does that process look like right now?
We're still going through that process. I know, unfortunately, we had to let a few guys go, and right now we're still in the process of, making up the staff. So everything just is going to happen. I want to make sure we're doing our due diligence and hiring the right people and making the right moves. That's why I said when I came in here, it was last week. I was about to say a few weeks ago. Right?
Oh, it feels that way.
Yeah. Most importantly, I just wanted to sit and have an opportunity to talk with everybody and just listen, so I can learn the culture and learn what has taken place and learn the environment. And I think that's very important when you're coming in a new position.
Hey, Coach, what are the type of people that you're looking for to add to the staff?
Well, you always want creative coaches. You want creative coaches. You also want people who can relate to the people and adapt to the environment in that room, because you got to have that connection. And obviously when I played, it was different, because when the coach said something, he said jump, you said how high. This generation, they're different. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. These are the same kids that I recruited as when I was a college coach. You had to develop those relationships. And so I've never stopped being a college coach in that way. You have to develop relationships with the people. And I think that is very, very important. And sometimes that kind of gets displaced with coaching. And so you got to have people that can connect with people in the room, but also that can coach them up. If you're developing the right relationship, you're developing the right chemistry, now you can get the best out of the person.
It sounds like you and other candidates, when talking to Ron, asked questions about stability here, knowing that there's a possible sale of the franchise. Based on what you learned from that conversation, what are you telling the staff that you might be bringing in about that stability?
That's out of our control. Coach Rivera, Jason Wright, and Martin, they'll take care of all that. My job is to make sure that I'm getting our guys ready to play.
Those
But
3
in
days
terms
when,
of getting, in terms of, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
those 3 days when you were here last week, what was generally the process? Can you just kind of walk us through what that was like for you?
I spent a lot of time with Coach Rivera. And by the way, Miss Nikki did an outstanding job of interviewing me at the Super Bowl. And I have to say that because she stood there, and we stood there the whole entire time, and I was tired. And she did a great job, so I wanted to give you a shout out.
Thank you.
But that process, it was good because, like I said, when you're sitting with people that you're familiar with, it makes the process a little easier. But I had that opportunity to spend that time with Coach Rivera. But on top of that, I had an opportunity to spend time with everybody that I needed to in the building. And that was huge because you have to have a starting point. And the starting point is introducing yourself. And once you go from there, now you have an opportunity to learn in the environment. You can adapt to certain situations, and then you can go about making the right decisions.
I'm sorry.
Just to follow up on kind of detailing how you want the coaches and their certain responsibilities, even down to like OTAs and training camp. Is that something you've always done with Coach Reed, or is that?
Oh yeah. So I got to get my calendar together and plan everything out. It's just like right now, we're in this phase where I think next week we're going to the combine. It's already here, so I want to make sure that I can take advantage of some of that free time I would have too. Just making sure I'm setting all my calendars up the right way because unlike it was in the past doing scheme eval, now it's going to be about teaching guys the offense, teaching the coaches.
Sorry, in the Super Bowl, Mahomes threw those 2 touchdown passes, and you guys had a good way to sort of read what Philadelphia was going to do with the coverage and have the guy cut back instead of running across. Can you go through that process of how you guys found that, discovered that, and then implemented that in your role with him?
Okay, so what we did, obviously, we basically give each section, and I think that's important, making it a collaborative situation where you allow certain coaches to look at certain situations to help us create the best situation. And so we saw some things on tape that actually when the Commanders played them, and also too when Jacksonville played them, when you motion that guy across, they were passing things off. So we knew if we can get them to sell that motion, the way we wanted to, which we call the jet sweep. You sell that jet sweep. Now, when they started passing, he comes right back out of it, and he was going to be wide at.
So I didn't hear that. Why? What?
He became wide open. But they just didn't pass it off. It's just something that we saw. We actually exploited something that they didn't have an answer for. So I can use colorful language every now and then.
You'll fit in.
You had a certain career, college, very, very strong career. NFL was a long career, different kind of role. How much did those experiences shape how you are as a coach?
It helped shape me tremendously, and that's a good question because when I came in, I was one of those knucklehead, hard-headed guys that had a great deal of success at college, but really couldn't figure out my role. And I'll never forget this, and you guys probably appreciate this because Dan Henney was the head coach at that time. Dan Henney did me a favor. He called me out in front of everybody. He called me out because of my lack of effort on tape that I had put on tape, playing on kickoff coverage. And he told me, if you're the last one down, we're going to cut you. Back in those days, first and second rounders got cut. And so I'll never forget talking to my agent at that particular time and asking him, you got to get me out of here. And it's kind of ironic how things happen and events happen in your life that you really don't know how they're going to impact moving forward. There was a gentleman that worked in that building. He came up and he overheard the conversation. He said, EB, you're going about this the wrong way. He said, seek not to become a person of success, but a person of value. Mm-hmm. The more valuable you are, the more likely you are to obtain success. So you got to understand, I'm a 21-year-old. It didn't ring a bell at that particular time. And then later on that evening, I'm just sitting down. I just had an epiphany. I was like, wow, okay, I get it. It's not about necessarily being your draft status. It's about what are you going to do to help yourself to become a professional football player. So I share that story with a lot of rookies because all of these guys anticipate coming in and wanting to be a starter. Everybody can't start, all right? But what value are you going to bring to this organization? What value are you going to present to help us to be the best team that we can be? And your window, all right, is special teams. So you can become a 4-phase special teams player. That's where your value can grow. And then when those opportunities present themselves in those individual rooms that you're working in, whether it's the receiver room, the tight end room, or the running back room, now you'll have that opportunity to grow as a player.
Well, if you become comfortable, like knowing the personnel here in terms of that they're asking you about it, your plans were huge. Like, were you cramming on the plane? Like,
I was sleeping on the plane. Right? It's still a process. I'm still going to sit down and go through all of that. And like I said, you can't help but be a fan of certain players because these guys. We all go to the combine together, so players. Do I know them inside and out like they do? No. But do I have a general idea? Just a general idea. But my goal is to make sure that I'm digging deep. So I want to make sure when I have the time to do so, which is going to start this afternoon, I want to dig into this roster and just see exactly what we have so we can continue moving in the right direction.
Coach, what are your impressions of Brian Robinson right now?
Excuse me?
What are your impressions of Brian Robinson right now?
Resiliency. Okay? Here's a man that overcame a situation and he played, which is unreal. And says a lot about the man, says a lot about his character. So obviously we can speak, we can praise him for all the things that he's done on the field, but for him to be resilient enough to put himself back in that situation says a lot about the character.
Right.
Coach, describe your offensive system. How much is it rooted in West Coast?
It's a West Coast system. Obviously, when it's all said and done with football, is football. You want to put all your guys in the best situations in which they can win. Okay, and then you want to put them in a situation where they can be successful. But we got to learn to put it together so we can have the success that we need to have. And it's all about playing complementary football and doing whatever it takes to win. That's one thing that we're going to do.
Hey, Coach, as people get to know you here in Washington, what is it that you want them to know most about you?
I'm a hard-working individual. I was raised old school. If you don't work, you don't eat. So that's the values that I bring, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work, and you can tell. I had to eat. I've eaten a little bit, so I understand how to work.
Coach, there's the current situation that you're excited about, but there's a history of this division and the Lombardi trophies that have been in this division. When you think about, the history of the NFL, is it kind of exciting to be in that division now, going up against, teams with multiple Lombardis like you now have?
Oh yeah, it's always historic. I played this division once upon a time. And the landscape of it. One thing I've always admired about this division, there's some great defensive teams. And so the thing that, the challenge that I'm excited about is bringing this offense in this scheme and giving it an opportunity to line up and play against these guys each and every week. So it's a historic division. I'm excited about it. And on top of that, we'll keep it moving. I'm going to just say it, leave it at that.
Eric, we obviously know the history, of the interviews you've had and all that. How has that shaped you? How did it change you? What did you learn about yourself going through this process and not getting those jobs and still kind of being out here doing what you're doing?
So each and every opportunity that you go through is an opportunity to learn something. So I don't get down, okay? Because I was taught, and I always say this, if you knew who my mother was, it would explain a lot, okay? So I don't let any opportunity take me down. My job is to create the necessary energy moving forward. So when those opportunities come about, that'll take care of itself. Right now, the only thing that matters is who we are and where we are. And my job is, right now, to be the best offensive coordinator and assistant head coach for the Washington Commanders.
Considering the quarterback you just had, do you have to recalibrate at all what's possible when putting together a plan for other quarterbacks?
Well, I'll just say this. Every quarterback brings something dynamic to a system, right? So Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes for a reason. My job is to discover who Sam Howell is, all right? And so right now, we're still early in that process. The things that I have seen, am I excited? Yes, I am. Okay, but I want to continue making sure that I'm doing the necessary evaluation so I can find out all the things that he can do well and give him that opportunity to exploit his talents.
Eric, Ben mentioned the plays you saw on tape before the Super Bowl. I wonder how you as a coach developed the confidence to speak out when you see something like that, because it's for the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? If you're wrong, you could go the other way. How did that process in your coaching career take root?
So one thing that I've learned over the years, okay, and here's a lesson that I learned when I went back in 2011 to be the offensive coordinator at the University of Colorado. For the record, we were awful, okay? We were awful. But our players did whatever they asked of them, and they played hard. You know, we just didn't have the talent that was there. But I'll never forget this. I remember we were playing Arizona State. It was at home, and I had an epiphany of just watching what they were doing, and it hit me. And I'll never forget this moment. They were running triple option football from a spread alignment. And so the thing that I took from that was, this is the new age of football. And so when you're going through this process, you have to remain flexible. You have to remain creative. There's no such thing as a bad idea. And if my idea is not the best, I'm not opposed to saying it. The hell with my idea, let's use that one. You know, so you want creative minds that are helping with the game planning process, because there is no such thing as a bad play. The only thing that you want to do is making sure that we have the right plays that's going to put us in position to be successful.